Megillah Daf Chaf Vav Amud Aleph 26a. We're near the very end of the page, near the bottom of the entire. We're discussing the different halachas of a shul. A shul in a large city, especially, always has a sanctity of a shul. Now, a lot of times you go in Israel, and you fall upon some old ruins of some old shuls. Here it is. That's one of them, the shul in Sustia. Okay, right now. That's a shul in Sustia, which I had. That's it. Is a shul in somewhere in the Russian peninsula. I'm not sure exactly where that is. Another ancient shul that they found. Some of these shuls are in old cities that are no longer inhabited, but it was very common that shuls were actually in the field. They were outside of the city. There were different reasons why shuls were traditionally always outside of the city. So many times you'll see ruins of a shul inside of a field, a place where there shouldn't be anything else. Nowadays, probably a field would not be a good place for a shul, just because of the field could have different fertilizers and smells. But back then, that's where the shuls typically were. So the Gemara will now relate an anecdote. First, we're going to have a statement of Rabbi, which we read yesterday. We're just going to finish it. It was a statement of Abaya and Rabbi. Abaya said a statement that if you stay by a host, you should always leave him your leftovers, your extras, proper etiquette, leave a gift for your host. Rabbi is now saying a statement that the only time you're allowed to sell a large shul in a big city is if you have the Shibituvei, the 7 leaders of the city, plus all the general consensus of the people in the city agreeing to sell the shul. Says Rabbi, if the 7 elders, or 7 leaders of the city, 7 representatives agreed to sell the shul, so then our Mishnah gives legitimacy to the sale of the shul and could be sold. However, if the 7 elders of the shul do not give legitimacy to the sale of the shul, then the sale is not valid. And even after it was sold, and even after we got money for it, the place of the shul cannot be used for anything else but a shul. Afilu, turning the page, next daf. However, if he gives 2 conditions, if the 7 representatives of the city, together with the agreement of the people of the city, they agreed to sell the shul, then, as long as they use the proceeds for another shul, and according to the Rambam, they don't even need to do that, then all the holiness has left the place of the original shul, and therefore you could even take the money and buy a lot of Chaim, a lot of beer, and drink and have a good time, because the fact that it was sold with the agreement of everybody in the city removes from it any holiness that was both in the location and any holiness that was on the place of the shul. Rashi says it's going on the money that was earned for the shul, and Tosfos and Tosfos 3, they say it's going on the place of the shul itself, that you could even have it for a place of a, let's say, a public intoxication, a place of a bar where people go and drink beer. It's interesting, there was a shul in Crown Heights that's built on the place of a bar, and even after the shul was built, you had a bar in the basement of the building, till the bar eventually closed down years later. It was called Murphy's Bar. That's where Chayva Vetera Yeshiva is now. There's a big fancy shul on Eastern Parkway by Albany. Now it's a yeshiva, of the Baba's Yeshiva. And for years, the shul was called Murphy Shul, because there's a shul named after the bar. It's in the shul. So that's a little bit different. A shul that that's opened up to begin with such a condition that it could be used for other things, not for a shul. For example, many Chabad houses, or they built conditionally, that if they move to a bigger, nicer location, the old location is no longer a shul. So then it does not have the same exclusive halachas as a shul would have, and therefore every situation will be different. You have to ask a Rav what to do with it and what the story is. There is, over here where I am now in Borough Park, there was a very large, beautiful, conservative temple, and it was bought, long ago closed down, and this building was sold about 15 years ago to a Hasidic court of Vizhnitz. No, one of the Baba of the Hasidic courts, and the Baba Rebbe said that you cannot have any benefit from anything in the shul. Not the benches, not the stained glass windows, not the shape of a dome, and he made them totally gut the shul, gut the building, and to redo it again. Halachically, there are ways to go about that, meaning turning a place which is not a place to serve Hashem, or at least in a improper way, into a shul. But he went, you could say, beyond the letter of the law in his particular way. Continues the Gemara. Ravina havelehu tila b'nei. Ravina had a piece of land, where tab is even. He had a piece of land which he owned, and on this piece of land, in his field, there was the ruins of an old shul. Any house which is a ruin is called a tel. Tel literally means a mound. But when it comes to the mitzvah to destroy an Erenidachas, a city which was serving idols, everyone in the city were all Jews and many conditions who have to start serving idols, and the city was destroyed. It's called, you should make the city Tel Olam, an everlasting mound. So it means a mound generally means a ruin of a structure. Ravina had a field, and there was an old shul in his field which was in ruins. Also, the Kame de Rav Ashi, he came in front of Rav Ashi. Amalei told him, these are the great Ravina Rav Ashi, the compilers and authors of the Talmud Bavli, the Talmud of the Gemara, as we're learning. So Ravina asked Rav Ashi, what is halacha? Could I plant in the place where the shul once was? Ravina himself bought the shul from the people who owned the shul, or the people who were in charge of the ground. But he wasn't sure if the fact that it was sold allows it now to be used as an area to plant. We're going to have a Mishnah coming up soon that, according to the Chachamim, you could use an old shul for anything besides for something which is embarrassing, which says for things which are smelly or something like that. So his question was, is planting a field considered to be something unhonorable, dishonorable, that you should not use the area of the ruins of the shul that was in his field as a place to plant? Amalei, Rav Ashi told him back to Ravina, he told him that if it was sold by all the representatives of the town, in the assembly, in the presence of the people of the town, then this particular piece of land no longer has the kedusha, any holiness on it at all, and therefore you would be allowed to even plant on it. So the way to explain this answer is that even if it's considered derogatory to plant crops in a place where a shul was, however, once both the people of the city and the representatives of the city agree to it, it removes the holiness of this particular shul.
But the shul was a ruins. The shul,
correct.
So chances are finding the people and the 7 people and et cetera, would be very difficult. So do you assume that its sanctity has left because it's for that old, or you assume that the sanctity remains?
It's a good question. There's a Rabbi in Yerushalayim before the Rebbe Rashab was a Rabbi, I think, in the late 1800s. And this is a question that will come up to him because at that point they were starting to find a lot of old shuls from different places. So he says, how could he even apply this answer? Because the people who made these shuls lived thousands of years ago, 1,000, 1,800 years ago, who knows how long ago. So what he says is that the people who live in that area are the representatives of the shul. They take the place and they represent the new people. He also says further that Ravina, he bought the land. When he bought the land, who did he buy it from? Must have been the people of the city at one point, because whoever he bought it from had to have bought it from the people of the city if there was a shul, or he himself bought it from them. So he's saying that the shul no longer has any sanctity. So this halachically is a lot to unpack over here, especially with a lot of old shuls which are no longer in use at all. Some of these shuls could be in the category of a tel. You could say it's like a charuv, something which is destroyed. Some of these shuls could be considered to be a shul where there's no more people of the city. That's a shul which is in the Hill District, but now there's no Jewish community in the Hill District. Interestingly, I was on the south side, and there were 2 shuls on the south side. Right? Now, I don't even know where they are today. So how exactly does it do it? So the Magen Avram writes that if you have something that was once used for a mitzvah, you can never take away its holiness. The Rambam holds a little bit differently. Something was used for a mitzvah, the holiness could go away. If it's sold with public consensus, the holiness could leave that object. And it boils down to over here, if you're allowed to sell a shul or not. Could you give a shul as a present? Could it be gifted to someone else? So these are all, I say, questions which, the poskim today could all discuss it. But in that particular part, so the Itkin says that it is the people who live there take over the place of the original Anshe basic Knesset, the original people of the shul, because they live in the same city. So he said it's no problem for you to go and to replant, to rebuy the shul, to cover all your bases, and then we'll be fine to sell the shul, to plant the area of the shul. Continues the Gemara. Another anecdote. Rami bar Abba have a kabani beit Knishta. Rami bar Abba was once building a shul. Hava he Knishta Tika, and in the place of the shul was a very old shul. Have a boy in yesterday. He wanted to not demolish the old building. The Rasuya was going to bring bricks. Ukshuri mina. Kashuri Minav Ayli Lasam he wanted to bring the old bricks and the old beams from the old shul and to build the new shul with it. I guess save on materials, or to say since the old bricks were holy to continue using it. Yasiv, and these are all shuls which are in Babel, so they don't have the sanctity of a shul in Eretz Yisrael. Yasiv come Christa. So he went and to the Beis Medrash, and he started looking into the halacha of a halacha quoted in the name of Rav Chisda, the Amar Rav Chisda, which Rav Chisda stated, when a person is not allowed to build, to knock down an old shul, to destroy an old shul, before the new one is built. So the question was, am I allowed to knock down the old shul and use the bricks to build a new shul? So is the reason you're not allowed to knock down an old shul? Is the reason you're not allowed to knock down the old shul, because we read that it's very easy to demolish. But what happens if the construction costs more than you thought it cost, as is usually the case? You might not come to build a new shul, or the person behind it might not be able to do it, they might move away. So therefore, you cannot knock down the old shul till the new shul is built. And you're going to be left with no shul. So in this case, where the only reason you're knocking down the old shul is to use the materials of the old shul for a new shul, are you worried for the same problem that perhaps they're not going to go and rebuild the new shul? Because maybe it could be more lenient over here, because the whole reason you're knocking it down is only in order to use the materials to build it, to build a new one. The Rebbe asked a question. Our Mishnah said that you could sell a shul as long as you're building a new shul. So what's the problem? Just sell the shul instead of knocking it down. So here the answer is that that's only if you're getting rid of the old shul and it's being used for, let's say, a house or something else, a store. But if you're going to use the same place, same area as a shul, so then you're not allowed to knock down the old shul until the new one is built. In Pittsburgh, they had an implosion. They first built a new stadium, then they got rid of the old stadium. Right now, they are building, right after the Square Hole Tunnel is a bridge. Now that in Pittsburgh, they're renovating all the bridges after the collapse from a few years ago. So they are they are fixing a lot of bridges. And there's one bridge, which is right after the Square Hole Tunnel, which over 100,000 people go over that bridge every single day. And so they want to replace that bridge, but it's such a busy bridge, you can't just close it down for the year or something it'll take to build it. So what they're doing is they're building a bridge right next to it. And then they're going to close the bridge down, the parkway down for 3 weeks and take away the old bridge and move the new one into place of the old one. And it's supposed to take place in 2026, 2027. In those 3 weeks, I'm assuming there'll be a lot of traffic in the city. So we see that it's a common thing that you don't knock down until you have a replacement for something that's used by the public, by a shul especially. So in this particular case, could they knock down the old shul to build a new shul? Also the comment of Rav Papa. It came in front of Rav Papa to ask this question. And he prohibited, he says, you're not allowed to knock down the old shul, first build a new one. The comment, and he went in front of Rav Huna to ask his opinion, and he also, the front of Bar Khalifa, and he also made it, he also prohibited it. Now, the reason why he asked 2 different people is because it's brought down that each one gave a different reason. Usually, you ask a rabbi a question, you can't ask a second rabbi a question. If you don't like what the first one says, you go to the second one. It doesn't look like that in halakha. you have to choose one Rav and listen to what they say. But the reason why over here, because he was able to go to a different Rav, is because each one was prohibiting for a different reason. So he says maybe the reason could still be mutter. One is because there is another shul in the city where people could daven. So if there's another shul in the city where people could daven, maybe they could knock down this old shul while building a new one. If this is the only shul in the city, maybe you can't. But if it could daven somewhere else, maybe you're allowed to. And even then, he made it prohibited. Or this shul is a very old shul. And it could be that it might be a danger to daven in the shul because the structure is not strong, the walls might collapse. So maybe over here you'll be allowed to take it down even if you didn't do one. So then he's still prohibited for both of these reasons. So since each of these people gave he asked a question in a different way, there's a shul. He says, maybe I can take it down because it's old, and he said you can't. Maybe I can take it down because there's another shul people could daven, and he said you can't. So therefore, he asked two different people, but he couldn't ask the same person. Once he got a no, it's a no. We'll pause the Gemara over here. The share will be a little shorter today. I have to go to my grandmother's funeral here in Borough Park in another hour from now, 12:30. So she, Baruch Hashem, her husband was Rebbe eunuch, was the Rebbe was chosen. He helped the Rebbe serve the Rebbetzin Chana for many years. She passed away the day of Bais Nissan, which is a very appropriate day for her to pass away because her father, this is her father in this picture, his name is Avram Baruch Pevzner. He was a yeshiva student in Lubavitch or Tamimim, and he was what's called one of the chayzerim. A chayzer is someone who can review. The Rebbe Rashab would say mamarim on Shabbos and Yom Tov, or for sometimes other days Yitzchok Kislev, and there was no recorders then, and Shabbos and Yom Tov for sure. So you had, throughout the history of Chabad, you've had in the chayzerim the human tape recorders. And the most famous one of our generation was Rabbi Khan. He was, as a bacher, as a yeshiva student, he was a chayzer of the Rebbe Rashab. He was one of, well, Rebbe Rashab would say a minor, and afterwards he would, if he would say Friday night, he would stay up the whole Friday night with all the yeshiva students. They would review it till they got a word perfect. Then they would make kiddush, eat a quick meal, and then he would review it again. And then in the morning, about 7 o'clock in the morning, we'll go into the Rebbe Rashab, repeat the mimer to him, and Rebbe Rashab would make additions or corrections. After Shabbos, they would write down. He was very connected to the Rebbe Rashab. When the Rebbe Rashab passed away in Rostov, on Bais Nissan, so like we saw yesterday, right? The place where the Rebbe Rashab passed away in this room, right over here. So the Avram Pevzner, he was one of the people, he was a bacher, then he was helping to serve the Rebbe Rashab. The history of Bais Nissan, the story of the Rebbe Rashab's passing, a lot of it that we know comes from Rabbi Rifkin in Ashkapta the Rebbe, Rabbi Landau. But Avram Pevzner also has many details that he adds on, particularly about the passing of the Rebbe Rashab. What's unique is the last mimer of the Rebbe Rashab, which was said in the Rebbe Rashab's home, was said on Purim, a very famous story, how the Bolsheviks came in the middle, and the Rebbe Rashab said, don't worry about them, even though weren't allowed to gather more than 2 people, and there were hundreds, and there was money, and there was vodka, all things which were totally illegal and could be arrested, and people were being killed on the streets. The Rebbe Rashab said, we'll say Chassidus, we'll get rid of them. The last mimer the Rebbe Rashab said in public was Rishus Goyim Amalek. But there was another mimer that the Rebbe Rashab said in front of the Frierdiker Rebbe, Bianca Landau, and the Avram Baruch Pevzner. He said that in front of them on a Shabbos afterwards. He passed away about 2 weeks after Purim, 2.5 weeks. And then the Rebbe Rashab said a mimer in private. So interesting how young from yesterday, which spoke about the passing of the Rebbe Rashab and said the last mimer he said, and the first mimer of the Frierdiker Rebbe said that the last mimer Rebbe Rashab said in public was Reishis Goyim Mamalik, because there was another mimer that was said in private, but it was never written or never publicized later on. But you see the story over here, the Rebbe Rashab gave instructions to Avram Baruch Pevsner to take care of the grinding of matzah for that year Pesach. Wasn't expecting to pass away. So many details we know he was, by the Rebbe Rashab, he was a Meshamish. What's even more unique is that when the Rebbe Rashab would say a mimer, our Rebbe, we've seen videos and pictures of the Rebbe saying a mimer, and his eyes are deeply closed, deep in concentration. The Rebbe Rashab, and he would say a mimer, his eyes were open and standing across from him. So it was a big ches. The tables were in a big shape of a ches. The whole middle was empty, and Chassidim stood on the sides and Bachram on the sides, and in the middle was empty sides of the Frierdiker Rebbe, who was standing right across from the Rebbe Rashab. And the Rebbe Rashab would look into his eyes, and the Frierdiker Rebbe would look into the Rebbe Rashab's eyes. And he looked into his father's eyes while he was saying the mimer. Later on, after the stopped passing of the Rebbe Rashab, when the Frierdiker Rebbe would say a mimer, so he told the Rebbe Baruch Pevsner, which is my grandmother's father, to stand in front of him and to look into his eyes, and the Frierdiker Rebbe would look into his eyes, and he would do that while he was saying the mimer and stuff. So in the same room over here, the Rebbe Rashab passed away. And this is rooms where the Mamarim were. This is the Rebbe Rashab's place. So right over here in this place is where the Rebbe Rashab would sit later on, the Frierdiker Rebbe, and would look into the eyes of the Ram Baruch Pevsner. And that stopped at one point. At one point, the Frierdiker Rebbe told the Ram Baruch Pevsner that while he was saying the mimer, you had a machshava zara, you had a foreign thought, a thought which didn't belong, and that disturbed me from saying the mimer. From then on, the Frierdiker Rebbe would close his eyes while saying the mimer, and then from then on it was like that, and then our Rebbe was the same thing as well. By many sichos, especially in later years, sichos, the Rebbe said with his eyes closed, the Rebbe one time said the reason why his eyes are closed during the sicha is that people's machshavas zaros, people's foreign thoughts, should not interrupt them, should not be involved, should not mix them up, should not disturb him. I mean, the Rebbe, people are thinking could actually, the Rebbe could see and hear, and he didn't want it to disturb him. That's why he said his eyes were closed during that time. So what was the machshava zara, the foreign thought that Rav Baruch Pevsner had, was that the mimer that the Frierdiker Rebbe was saying was a beer, an explanation on a mimer of the Rebbe Rashab. And he thought about that, and so that already thinking about that, thinking of concentrating on anything but that, was already considered to be a machshava zara, a foreign thought, something you shouldn't be looking at. So as a shachar pratis that when my grandmother passed away, her father was arrested. She has no memories of her father. She was, I think, 4 years old when he was arrested. Avram Baruch Pevsner was he was exiled to Kazakhstan. He actually, at one point, he saw the Rebbe's father, Rabbi Levi Yitzchok, in prison. They were both being transferred, being dragged by soldiers, and he told this to his wife, Alta Sarah, that with tears in his eyes, I saw the Rebbe of Yekaterinoslav, and he was very weak, and he was much older, and he tripped and he fell. And the soldiers sent the dogs, and the dogs unfortunately bit the Rebbe's father. He was arrested in 1939. 1940, he died in Golos in Kazakhstan. He asked just that he should be buried in the Tiferes Israel, a Jewish burial, with miracles and tremendous expense he was. So my grandmother grew up a orphan entire life. But Baruch Hashem, she was always besimcha, always happy, and her husband was served the Rebbe and had a chilus the Frierdiker Rebbe, the Rebbetzin Chaim and the Rebbetzin Chana. And the Rebbetzin, the famous picture of Rebbetzin Chana was taken at my grandparents' wedding. The Rebbe was at their chasana, Shalder Kedushin. So I'm sure Baruch Hashem, the Rebbe is taking care of them now as well. And with that, we shall only share in Simchas. Tomorrow, Rabbi Darren will Eretz Hashem